Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. When the phone rings and the biggest power in the world is on the other side, most people answer it real quick. They don't even check caller ID. They don't even think twice. They're like, yes, sir, what can I do for you? But see, that's when you realize not every country, not every leader is built the same way. Some folks pick up the phone with trembling hands, and some folks look at that phone, look at their own reflection, look at the people behind them and say, oh, not today. And that moment right there, that's when you know something in history just shifted. Because here's what happened. A call came through, a call of pressure, a call of intimidation, a call saying, if you don't bend, you're gonna break. And right there, instead of bowing down, instead of saying, yes, sir, the man said, I refuse. India said, we ain't playing this game no more. We're not for sale, we're not for rent, and we sure ain't for blackmail. And we sure. Now let me tell you, that ain't just politics, that ain't just strategy, that's a mindset. That's a whole attitude shift. That's the sound of a nation that finally realizes its worth. You ever been in a situation where somebody tried to lowball you, tried to disrespect you, tried to test your value? You know the feeling. They make that call, they send that email, they whisper in your ear, you need me more than I need you. And right there, you got two choices. You can fold and live small, or you can stand up and say, no, I know who I am. I know what I bring to the table. And if you think I'm going to sell out, you got the wrong one. And that's exactly what went down. A superpower thought they could corner India, thought they could run the old game, thought they could pull the same tricks they've been pulling for decades. But see, time's different now. The old script doesn't work on the new cast. This is not the India of yesterday. This is not the nation that waited for somebody else's permission slip to take a step. This is not the economy that bowed for aid or the country that got pushed around like a junior partner. No, sir. This is India with confidence, with resources, with global respect. And when that phone rang, the answer wasn't just a no. The answer was, we refuse, we reject your blackmail. We're writing our own story now. Now let me pause right there, because some of y'all in the crowd know what I'm talking about on a personal level. You've been in that same seat. Maybe not a world leader, maybe not a prime minister, but maybe you had a boss, a friend, a family member, a relationship, somebody who thought they could manipulate you, somebody who thought they could trap you with fear. They call you up, they tell you, if you don't do what I say, you're finished. And what do? Do you give them the satisfaction? Or do you look inside yourself and say, I got something stronger in me. I got dignity. I got power. I got pride. See, the world respects power, but even more than that, the world respects people who refuse to be bullied. And make no mistake, that call was nothing but a bully's move. It was the old do this or else. But here's the funny thing about bullies, they only got as much power as you give them. Once you stand up, once you say, I'm not afraid, the whole game changes. That's what happened here. India stood up, and when India stood up, the whole world leaned back and said, oh snap, did they just say no to the United States? Yes, they did, loud and clear. And let me tell you, that one word, oh no, echoes louder than 1,000 speeches. It tells the world, we are not dependent, we are not desperate, and we are not for sale. That's not just leadership, that's legacy. That's the kind of decision generations look back on and say, that was the moment we turned the corner. Now, people out there are going to ask, why? Why risk it? Why not just play nice, take the deal, bend a little? Because bending leads to breaking. Once you let somebody blackmail you once, they will never stop. They will come back every time, pressing harder, demanding more, until you don't even recognize yourself anymore. That's why sometimes the strongest move you can make is to refuse, even if it costs you, even if it shakes the ground under your feet. Because the price of dignity, the price of sovereignty, the price of standing tall is always cheaper than the price of submission. Look at history. Every single time a nation gave in, every single time a leader bowed down, it bought them a little time, but cost them their pride. And when your pride is gone, it don't matter how rich you are. It don't matter how powerful you look on paper, the world will treat you like a servant, not a partner. India said, we're not doing that no more. India said, we are equal players at the table, and if the table ain't ready for us, we'll build our own. And listen, let me bring it back to your own life for a second. Some of you all sitting here listening to me right now, you know exactly what that means. You got situations where you've been playing small, saying yes when you should have said no, taking less when you deserve more. You've been answering every call like you owe somebody your soul. But there comes a day, oh yes, there comes a day when you wake up and you realize, wait a minute, I got value, I got worth. I don't need to answer every call. I don't need to dance for approval. I don't need to sell myself short. That's when you start living on your own terms. And you know what's funny? Oh, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop begging, that's the moment people start respecting you. Because respect never comes to those who bow forever. Respect comes to those who draw the line and say, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. That's what India did. That's what this refusal was all about. It wasn't about one phone call. It wasn't about one threat. It was about identity, about sovereignty, about drawing the line and saying, you will not bully us, you will not buy us, you will not break us. Now I'm going to tell you, when the news broke, a lot of folks were shocked. They were like, hold up, can you even do that? Can you just say no to America? And that's exactly the point. The world got used to seeing countries jump when Washington said jump, but not this time. And when one nation does it, it sparks something. It makes others think, wait, maybe we don't have to jump either. Maybe we can stand too. That ripple effect. That's more powerful than the threat itself, because strength inspires strength. Courage spreads like fire. And here's the beauty of it. The same way nations get tested, you get tested. Life will call you with blackmail. Life will say, if you don't play it safe, you're going to lose. A life will say, if you don't compromise your dreams, you'll be left behind. But listen to me, you don't have to pick up every call. You don't have to give in to every threat. Sometimes the most powerful word you can speak in your life is a no to disrespect, no to manipulation, no to fear. And when you say it from a place of strength, watch how everything shifts around you. Now, some folks out there will say, well, what about the consequences? Won't there be backlash? Won't there be punishment? Let me tell you something. Every choice has consequences, but not every consequence is bad. Sometimes the consequence of saying no is pain in the short term, but freedom in the long term. And that freedom, that's priceless. That's the kind of freedom no money can buy. That's the kind of freedom nations fight wars for, people sacrifice lives for, parents work 2 jobs for, entrepreneurs burn midnight oil for. Because the freedom to say no is the foundation of dignity. And don't think for a second that this rejection went unnoticed. The world saw it. Leaders saw it. People saw it. And the message went out loud and clear. India ain't playing second fiddle anymore. This is a country that knows its value. This is a country that understands its leverage. This is a country that would rather walk alone in dignity than walk chained in somebody else's shadow. And you know what? That's a lesson for all of us. If you got nothing else from this, remember this. Never let anyone blackmail you into betraying yourself. Because the minute you do, you lose everything that really matters. But the minute you stand tall, even if you lose something on paper, you gain something far more valuable: respect, self-worth, and legacy. So the call was refused. The blackmail was rejected. And history will record that as more than just a diplomatic move. It will record it as the moment a nation declared to the world, we are free, we are strong, we are not afraid. And let me tell you, once you taste that kind of strength, there's no going back. Once you stand up, you don't ever kneel the same way again. So next time life calls you with a threat, next time someone tries to corner you with fear, remember this moment. Remember the power of refusal. Remember that dignity is non-negotiable. And remember that your worth, whether as a person or as a nation, is never up for blackmail. Now let me break this down for you, because sometimes we talk about power like it's only about who's got the bigger stick, who's got the bigger bank, who's got the louder mouth. But real power is when you don't just follow the script that somebody else wrote for you, but when you stand up, throw that script back in their face, and say, oh, from now on, I'm writing my own lines. And that's what rejecting blackmail is really about. That's what India just showed the world. For too long, the global order has been like a play written by a handful of actors who think they're the only ones that matter. They've been handing out roles like, you play the follower, you play the servant, you play the background character. And everybody else been nodding along, just happy to be on stage. But you know what happened? Somebody just ripped up that old casting sheet. India said, "But we're not just here to act in your show. We're here to co-author the whole script." That's the shift that comes when you reject blackmail. Because think about it, blackmail is not just a demand, it's a declaration of hierarchy. It's one voice saying, "I'm above you. You are below me. You don't have choices. You have instructions." And the moment you accept that, the moment you obey that threat, you're stuck in that hierarchy forever. But the moment you reject it, you flip the whole game. You move from being directed to being a director. You stop being a supporting actor and become a co-writer. That's the power of saying no. That's the power of standing up. And it ain't easy. Don't let anybody fool you. It ain't easy to look a global power in the eye and say, "Oh, we will not bend," because the risks are real. The consequences can hurt. You can lose markets, you can lose deals, you can lose short-term comfort. But here's the truth. If you keep giving in, you lose something far greater. You lose the right to shape your own future. And what good is comfort today if it costs you dignity tomorrow? That's the question India answered. That's why rejecting blackmail is not just resistance, it's authorship. It's saying, we don't just live in this order, we are now building it. And let me give you a picture. Imagine the world as a round table where decisions get made. For decades, some nations sat at the head, carving out the portions, handing out the crumbs, and telling others, "You just be happy you even got a seat here." But India just stood up and said, "We ain't here to beg for crumbs anymore. We're here to bring our own plate, our own fork, and we're here to decide what's on the menu too." That's the difference between playing along and co-authoring. You don't just eat what's served, you help cook the meal. And here's the part people don't always get. When you reject blackmail, you don't just protect yourself, you redefine the rules for everyone else. Because other nations are watching. They're watching the way the powerful treat the less powerful. They're watching if it's possible to say no and still stand. And when they see India doing it, when they see India not crumbling under the weight of threats, they start to realize, hold up, maybe we got more choices than we thought. Maybe we can push back too. That's how authorship spreads. That's how a nation's courage becomes contagious. Now, don't think this is just about politics. Don't think this is only about some foreign policy boardroom. This is life. This is business. This is every relationship you've ever had where somebody tried to hold something over your head. You've been there. Somebody says, "If you don't do what I say, I'm going to expose you. If you don't give me what I want, I'm going to cut you off. If you don't compromise, I'm going to destroy you." Sue. That's blackmail in your own life. And the second you give in, you become a follower in your own story. But when you reject it, when you call that bluff and say, "I will not be controlled," you become the co-author of your own destiny. That's what India's refusal just taught on a global scale. And let me tell you, the old powers didn't expect this. They thought the old playbook would work forever. They thought fear was still enough. But fear only works when people don't realize their own strength. Fear only works when people don't recognize their leverage. And India has leverage. Population, economy, technology, military, culture, global ties. You can't ignore that. So when blackmail came knocking, India realized, we don't have to play scared anymore. We got our own cards. We got our own chips. We're not here to beg. We're here to bargain. That's a whole new mindset. That's authorship. Now picture this, two players at a poker table. One's been bluffing for years, scaring everybody else into folding. But one day a new player sits down and doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, just looks at the bluff and calls it. The whole room changes. Everybody else suddenly realizes the bluff ain't real power, it's just noise. That's what India did. And when that happened, the old power structure trembled a little. Because if one player can call the bluff, others can too. And once that happens, the game is never the same. And here's why this matters. Global order is not a fixed thing. It's not carved in stone. It's a living script being written every day by the actions and choices of nations. And for too long, a small group has been holding the pen, deciding who wins and who loses. But rejecting blackmail is India's way of reaching for that pen, saying, we're writing now, we're shaping this order, we're co-authors, not characters. And once you start writing, you're no longer replaceable, you're indispensable. You're not just reacting to history, you're creating it. That's why the world noticed. That's why it sent shockwaves. Because a refusal wasn't just a no, it was a declaration. We belong at the author's desk. We will not be silent actors anymore. And that message is more powerful than any weapon, any sanction, any tariff, because it shifts perception. And perception is the foundation of reality in international politics. Once people see you as a co-author, they treat you differently. They consult you, not command you. They partner with you, not pressure you. They respect you, not just tolerate you. And if you bring this lesson home to your own life, you'll see the same pattern. Every time you let somebody blackmail you, you're handing them the pen, you're letting them write your lines. But every time you say no, every time you reclaim your voice, you take that pen back. And once you start writing your own story, you become unstoppable.